Ahí viene el agua, cuidado, cuidado, que ahí viene el agua.
Welcome everybody. This is the first episode of the podcast Rainmakers. Today we have a very two special guests. The guest number one is Alan Araiza, and the second one from you live in Austin? From
Austin, Texas, yes.
From Austin to Monterrey.
Yes.
We got Derek Wickersham.
Yes.
Derek Wickersham. So, okay, how are you, Derek? How are you, Alan?
I am well, thank you.
Okay.
Very fine. Thank you.
You're well too? Okay. Nobody asked me, but
Yeah, how are you?
okay. Actually, I'm well too. So this is the first podcast that we had. So we don't have any experience, but let's try it. Okay. So I have some questions that I would like to make to you, Derek.
Okay.
So this is a relaxed profit.
Sure.
You maybe can take aside the technicians and stuff like that. So the first question that I would like to make to you is, could you talk about your studies? What did you study? When you were studying, you thought that maybe you will work on fire protection. Come on, tell us
I
about
actually
it.
had, coming out of high school, had no intention of going into any type of fire protection. I actually started my studies in business, so business management, and I didn't know anything about fire protection. You know, never walked into a place and looked up, which I do now everywhere I go. But back then, you don't really, if you're not a part of fire protection, you're really not conscious of the fire protection systems that are out there. So I really knew nothing about it. Started in business management, and just needed a job while I was going to college, and I applied to be a what I thought was just a warehouse manager type role, and it turned out to be with Viking Supply Net, who is a fire sprinkler supply. So again, no intention of going into fire protection, but just applying for a job, which turned out to be in the industry. So while I was there, just started learning about fire protection, and that was back in October of 1999.
Okay.
So since that time, I just involved into learning about the industry, being a part of the industry, but it was just kind of out of luck, I guess, that I got into something that I didn't think was my profession and turned out to be.
Okay, so we can say that this is your first job. This was your very first job, the biking at that.
Yeah. Outside of your part-time jobs where you worked in high school and stuff like that. So this was my first career position in what turned out to be an industry I've been a part of for 25, almost 25 years now.
Okay, could you tell us more about that first job? What kind of job did you do, work, or?
So it was a smaller branch location that we basically supplied sprinkler heads, groove fittings, valves, backflows, all that to the local fire protection contractors. So we were exclusive Viking sprinkler heads and valves. So I really got to learn the Viking product inside and out while I was doing that, because that's really all we sold. But it was pipe, so if we sold pipe, so anything related to what the fire sprinkler contractor needed.
Okay.
At the time, no supplier was really into fabrication. Now everyone is into fabrication. Well, back then, the customers themselves, the fire sprinkler suppliers, did their own fabrication. So all we did was supply material to them. It evolved into fabrication-related services, but back then we just supplied the material that they needed. So I actually ran the branch. So I had 2 employees that worked for me. So we just filled orders, shipped material, did deliveries locally, and tried to keep everybody happy.
Okay.
Yes.
What kind of group connection did you sell? I guess that the Victaulic ones?
No, it wasn't
because-
Victaulic. One of the funniest things that I tell everybody about my early career was I went through training because I was new to fire protection. So I went through training and they taught me what a grooved coupling was.
Yeah.
You know, so at the time we sold Star brand, which is no longer around anymore. But back then, that's what we sold. And so they taught me, hey, this is a grooved coupling. This is what it looks like. And I'm like, okay, great. So I had a customer come in. He said, give me a 4-inch Vic. I looked at him. I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. He looked back at me and said, you're in fire protection? You don't know what a 4-inch Vic is? I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what it is. So I took him back into the warehouse. I said, please show me what a 4-inch Vic is. So he pulled a 4-inch coupling.
Okay.
I said, I was not taught it's a Vic. I was taught it's a coupling. So it was really the jargon of what people call certain parts and pieces that really took a long time to get used to. So now I know exactly what a Vic is. But back then I wasn't taught that, so I didn't know that.
Okay,
So-
okay. You know, my first approach in fire protection, I had a brother. She died a long time ago when I was 6, but he was a firefighter.
Oh, nice. Yes.
So when I was a kid, I used to play with their helmet and all the stuff that they had, and I always my dream job were to be a firefighter.
Yes.
Maybe I'm not too far away from
You
that.
do
but-
fight fires in other ways. Absolutely.
Yes, just
Yep.
in a
Well,
different way.
You make it safer for firefighters to do their job, basically.
Yes.
So, in a way, you are, but in a way, you also help firefighters.
Yes, actually, in Mexico we have some trouble with that because firefighter doesn't trust in the systems that a lot of
Yes.
contractor installs
Yes.
because they don't do it like
They probably have seen a lot of
the best
failed
way.
systems.
Yes.
Yes.
And when the firefighters arrive to a fire and they open maybe a hose or a
Yes.
nozzle and
Nothing
they don't
comes out.
come on.
Yep.
So in Mexico is difficult, but I
Yes.
know in USA is different.
It's different, but there's been cases where, inspectors that come in and pulled sprinklers that are attached to nothing behind them. So it happens everywhere. It's not just, some cases here. It's everywhere. It's a problem,
Yeah, I know that. Okay, Derek, thanks for sharing with us. I know that you have been part of some challenging projects
Yes.
In all the world, I guess.
Yes.
Can you talk about us about these
Sure.
challenging projects and maybe the 3 or 4 more iconic projects
Sure.
that you have been?
There's, I evolved from being in fire sprinklers to getting into Watermist fire suppression systems. And that's really what brought me into unique projects that I've been a part of. So some of the, I've been inside nuclear power plants. That's always a very interesting place to go to. I've never actually got to be in the reactor area themselves, but just to be in an area like that where that exists and you're potentially trying to protect something like that is really interesting. One of the greatest places and the most, I guess, fun for me was actually being able to sit and talk to the fire engineers at the ESPN studios in Bristol, Connecticut. After we had our presentation, I actually got to take a tour and walk around and see the studios and go in a college game day studio and the sports center. Got to sit behind the sports center chair. So being a part of fire protection, you get to see things and do things that a lot of other industries don't get to do.
Yeah.
Because we know every business out there needs some type of fire protection. So you get to see some really cool things. My kids think I just sit behind a computer because anytime I'm at home and I work from my house, they see me just typing on the computer, but they don't get to see what I get to go out and actually see firsthand. I've been in companies that make spaceships. to provide fire protection for the parts that they make and possess there. So it's definitely a very interesting industry to be in that a lot of people don't think about would be that exciting, but it really is.
Yeah.
So I think if young kids really knew, high school kids getting ready to go into college, what we get to see and what we get to do, I think a lot more of them would be interested in getting into this line of profession,
Yeah. What do you think is the most iconic project of all that you have developed? The biggest one.
So I actually got to a multi-billionaire, one of the most richest men in the world, has a space company. I don't want to give names away,
Okay.
but so he actually has a facility in Florida in the U.S. where they actually build the parts and pieces for the spaceship that they send people up to, and you can pay to be sent up to space. So they have a very large oven, and their spaceship's made out of special resin that they need to cook or cure. So we actually designed a system that would go inside this very large oven that they would use for fire protection. So it's kind of neat to see that we're protecting something that goes up into space and take space, astronauts and people up into that type of atmosphere. So that would probably be my most interesting one that I've worked on.
Okay. Do you like the rocket ships?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, space in general. I've lived in Florida, so we got to see all the time the rocket ships taking off and everything. So I was like, yeah, that's the one I protected. So to know that you are part of that is pretty cool.
So impressive. Have you worked maybe with automotive industry?
We have. We have Watermist systems that protect the paint booths. So as the cars are going through the assembly line, they go through a robotic painting type atmosphere. Yeah. So we'll actually provide protection inside those environments. So we've actually worked with and tried to educate, all the automakers in the U.S. about the benefits because they always worry about downtime. They don't want to be down. So the quicker anything happens, they can get back up and running is what's really important to them. Yeah. So when you look at alternative systems that can allow them to operate more efficiently and worry about downtime less, that's what really catches their attention. Yes. So we've worked with all the big three automakers and some of the other ones there, and we have some systems that are in assembly plants that protect paint booth type atmospheres. So that's a definite one to be a part of. I'm originally from Michigan, so known as the Motor City. So knowing that you're a part of that industry is worthwhile.
You work for the same guy for automotive industry as the same as the rocket ship ones, no? Is the same? No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. Maybe okay. Have you one of your system that you have developed? Have this system ever put out a fire?
That's where it gets hard because sometimes the people that you are protecting don't want to know that they had a fire. So they don't necessarily report it. So it's hard to know if your systems actually worked. I do know of one case we installed a Watermist system on an industrial oil cooker, and it did catch fire, and the system did exactly what it was supposed to do. But I wish we knew more of any cases like that. It's just people don't like to share that information. And a lot of the times the systems that I are a part of are actually secondary fire, meaning they have a sprinkler system existing, but we're protecting an asset of theirs. So if a sprinkler head never goes off, the fire pump never goes off, the fire department's never called, it's never a reported incident. So it's hard to get some of that information, back to us so we can say, hey, yeah, our system did it. I wish people shared that more because that allows us to be more educated ourselves on, are we putting these systems together right? Are they being installed correctly? Is the maintenance being done on these properly? So you would hope you'd be able to get that information, but you always can't. They're not always willing to share that.
Yeah, I know that. How did it feel when you know that your system worked properly?
It's a great feeling. Again, I don't think people realize that in this industry, we save lives, we save property, we save businesses from going into lost revenue. So it's It's not only a product you're selling, it's a product that means something in the world, that you're actually doing something. You're doing something for good. Your systems are not there. A lot of people say, oh, yeah, I'll never need this system until they actually need the system and then realize what it actually can do. So, yeah, it is. So not only a product I'm selling, it's a life safety product that I'm selling that could possibly save lives and save property. So it's a good feeling to have.
I guess. Sometimes some system that we have developed work properly also,
Yes.
and it feels like, oh my
It does.
God, I'm
It
saving
does.
life.
Especially if
Really.
you were a part of that project from beginning to end. So you had it. You're the conception of what the system's going to look like. You design it. It gets installed, and then it does exactly what it's supposed to. It makes you feel like all that time was definitely well spent.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. No minute were
Wasted.
Wasted.
Yes,
No
yep,
minute
yep,
wasted. Yeah,
yep.
I know that. Okay, Derek. Thinking about from a perspective, not technician, maybe just more like the part of the sales.
Mhm.
And talking about big projects. A few days ago, you talked about some projects maybe on the subfloor of New York, on
Yep.
another projects in Europe.
Yep.
What is the process on, or maybe not the process, but maybe how can you get these kind of clients, or
Sure.
how do you get there to
Sure.
that employers?
So working for manufacturers, one of the most important things that we need to do is form good partnerships with our distributors, so our customers. So our customers are companies like yours, like Coltech. So working for a manufacturer, you're my distributor. Your customer is that end user that you're installing that system to. So establishing a good partnership with your distributor means they want to bring you into their projects. They want you a part of that because you've built that business relationship that they understand you're the expert. So we want the experts a part of our project. So when they feel comfortable bringing you into a relationship they've established, there's a great partnership between you. So they want to make sure that when they look at their customer looks at them, they say, yeah, I'm working with the manufacturer. We're going to put together the best system that we can possibly provide in this type of application. So it shows a great teamwork. And the end customer loves seeing that teamwork, that they know that they have everybody that can possibly do the right thing for them is doing the right thing for them. Yes. So a lot of the stuff and a lot of the great projects I've been a part of are projects that I've been brought into because they want that expert opinion on, okay, we have a challenging project. How do we protect this properly? What do we use? What system do we use? How do we install this? How do we engineer this? So it's really partnerships like partnerships with Coltech that we can put together and be a part of projects like that.
Okay. Thank you. That was we had not a problem in sales here in Coltech, but sometimes we try to get directly to that employers,
Yeah.
and maybe we are thinking wrong, and we should support more the distributors
Yep.
that we had, and this can take us to
Yep.
another part. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I know that you designed the Watermist systems.
Yes.
Can you tell us about the process? What is the first thing that you do
Sure.
when you need to develop one system?
Yeah.
Since it get started till the end of the project.
Well, one of the things that I really love about dealing with Watermist systems is people call me up and they say, okay, I have this application I need to protect. Help me. So I really have to get most of the information I can get from them and pretty much analyze the hazard that we're protecting. So I love being able to analyze and look at all the different details of what we're protecting and put together a system that we best suited. So that's usually how the process starts, is they'll send me an application, some drawings. Okay, this is what we're protecting, come up with a system. So I'll go through all the information that I've accumulated over the many years and say, okay, this is the nozzle. This is the system that I want to use. So once I know how to put that, or once I determine that, I'll go through all the data sheets, all the design manuals, and follow exactly what I need to start designing the system. So I'll basically start putting things together. Of course, it does go through many revisions because it never seems your first design is what ends up out there and stuff like that. And sometimes when you don't have site visits involved with what you're doing, it gets difficult to envision exactly how everything's supposed to be installed. So sometimes you get to, sometimes you don't. So those ones you don't, you really take a lot to make sure that you're incorporating everything that could be possibly in that design. From ceiling heights to actually how big the area is that you're protecting, and trying to actually scale that inside of a design software is sometimes hard. So you just start laying things out, putting nozzles here and there, seeing what works the best, how it is supposed to be designed based on like I said, the manual itself. And then start submitting to your customer and say, okay, this is our first preliminary design. What do you think? And kind of revise from there as many times as needed till we get the actual design down, prove that it can be hydraulically calculated. And once that's been determined, come up with the bill of materials so we can actually get things on ordered and start getting things installed. So
okay. And what happened after that? So you design the system,
Yep.
you provide the materials.
Yep.
I guess you are not the person who builds the system.
No. See, again, that's back to companies like Holtec that will actually install it. So I always work with contractors that need that design done that may not have that in-house capability to do that. But even if they do, I'll help them start to put together the right nozzles and system that they're going to design. So not only do I work with designing, it's consulting, providing people information on which direction to go with their system. But no, I've never installed a system in my life. So that part of it I've never done. So I let the professionals do that, and that's not me. Okay. But everything else outside of that, I can absolutely do for you.
Okay. And what about when the contractors finish the project? Have you ever done a commission?
I have, yes, okay. Yes. Well, I haven't done the actual commission. I've been a part of it to where they're the ones actually doing that part, but I'll be there in a consultative way to make sure everything's installed how it should be according to the manufacturer design manual, okay. And just give them a brief, hey, this is how this works, this is how this works. So a brief training session on how everything's supposed to operate so that they can do it themselves. So yeah, I've been a part of that, many of them. So many site visits, many seeing design from beginning to end, which is nice to actually visually see it, not only on paper, but in person. Yeah. So that's always fun to do.
Okay, that is nice. Okay, I have a very personal question.
Okay, we like those, right?
I know that you love the fire protection system, yep. Also the Watermist. If you were back 20 years ago and you had to decide and you know everything about this is how is going to be your life, sure. In fire protection,
sure.
And you maybe had the option to choose to grow up in business development, sure. What choice did you make?
I would pick the same absolute industry. I think I would go more for the engineering side. So I would start in engineering school and go to a fire engineering school. So I would definitely try to do what I'm doing now kind of backwards. So I'm trying to catch up and trying to get to a point of where I can be as educated as I can. So I wish I did that in the beginning so I don't have to kind of backtrack and do that all now, But yeah, it's definitely an exciting industry. Like I said, I know I get to travel the country and talk to many contractors, and one thing they always say is we have a hard time hiring people. We have a hard time getting young people involved in our industry, And I think, if they, like I said, if they really knew how rewarding this is, I mean, our systems are required. And definitely in the U.S., you sometimes can't open a building, a business, if you don't have fire protection. So even in the hard times of recession time through the U.S., I've always had a job because there's always fire protection. If it's not new on installs, it's still service work. So there's always a career for you. It's not, you don't have to worry about the downtime of being laid off or anything like that. So it's a rewarding career. If you're in it, you'll be in it for a long time. So as long as you continue to educate yourself and want to learn and want to be a part of it, it's going to be very rewarding for you and your family as well. Yeah. So there's lots of good reasons. Again, back to the life safety factor, we're protecting people, so yes. There's all kinds of reasons. So I think if we were able to, as an industry, kind of show that that positivity about going into our industry more and more, I think a lot more kids would be willing and able to go into it. So I wish I would have done that a lot earlier and got the proper education from the beginning. So I would have definitely chosen a fire protection avenue to go to.
Okay.
Yep.
You already mentioned that when you open a business in USA, you need the fire protection to start.
Yes.
In Mexico, it's a little bit different,
right?
The laws and the government
sure.
is not like very requisitive or
regulated. Yep.
Regulated like in the USA. For the people that are going to listen us in Mexico, can you tell more about how is the process
sure.
to in USA? I mean, if it need to be approved by firefighters or
yes.
maybe the government.
So if I'm let's say I'm opening a new restaurant inside of a city. So basically, I'm going to hire a fire protection contractor to install my required fire protection sprinkler system. So I would hire them. They would be the ones who actually engineered and designed the system. So once they have engineered, designed it, they have to take those drawings and actually submit them to the city. The city has their own in-house fire people who will actually look at the drawings and approve the draw or deny the drawings and say this is not how it should be. So that goes to the planning department of the city. The fire department looks at that and says yes or no. If they say yes, then they move on to start installation. So once that installation has occurred and is completed, now they have to call the fire inspector in to come and inspect that system. So all this time, this business is not allowed to open up until all this occurs. So once the fire inspector has come in and said, yes, the system is proper, it fits all the NFPA guidelines, you have passed your inspection, then that part can go and the business gets their certificate of occupancy. Now they're allowed to open and allow people into their business. If they do not pass this, they do not get their certificate. Therefore, they cannot open up. So it does happen a lot of times that the fire system is the reason that the business is not opening. Maybe they hired a poor contractor who didn't know what it was doing or something like that. So there has been examples where people can't open up because their fire system's not adequate. But if it is, then you get your certificate, you open up, and you're on your way.
Okay.
Derek, this inspector, is it from a insurance company?
Nope.
Or is it
it's the city.
from the city?
Yeah, he's a government worker. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We are going to move to another question, and it has things to do with the clean agents and the actual environmental that is part of the world. So do you think maybe Watermist systems sometimes will replace absolutely 100% the clean agent system maybe?
I wish I could say that because it would make my job in selling them a lot easier. But I really think there's the proper system for each application. Watermist is not the fix-all for every application that's out there. It's definitely not. There is absolutely the right time and place for inert systems, for gaseous agent systems, for foam systems. Watermist can't protect it all. Again, I wish it could, and it's come a long way since it's really come out from the marine industry. And if you look over in Europe, Watermist is used far more than it is in the U.S. and North America. They've really grasped hold of the benefits over there compared to the U.S. They have organizations like the International Watermist Association over there. Yeah. That's a group that's promoting the use, that's lobbying different various governmental divisions for the use of it. Over here, we don't have that. It's still a growing technology where I keep hearing from everyone, yes, I want to know more about it, but I don't think it's ready yet. But the technology is all there right now, and so it is growing in applications and stuff like that, but it's still a long way to go in North America compared to Europe. But no, I don't think it's going to replace every system. I think it's going to help in certain cases be a better suited application, but I don't think it's going to take over everything. I absolutely do not.
Okay, but maybe like in 10 years, if you think in an option to protect your data center.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
We're seeing that again more and more nowadays. People, sometimes don't want to use water at all when you get into that type of situation. But these systems nowadays can replace a sprinkler system with less water damage, with better technology of fighting the fire. So it is starting to become prevalent. I've been a part of a couple data center projects where the system's actually been installed and have had no problems whatsoever with the system, and they're installing it in other facilities as well. So again, it's just takes time and education, just like every product that comes in the fire protection world does. People need to know. AHJs need to know about it. They need to be educated about it to accept it in certain situations. So again, it's still coming, but I definitely think in 10 years it's going to have a bigger part of the fire protection market. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes I guess people don't know or they listen water and things.
They don't want to hear water. Once they hear the water, then they don't want anything to do with it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And what else? What else can we say, Alan? You got any question?
What about some hybrid systems?
A hybrid's another way. It's good that they're now separated from Watermist because before the NFPA 770.
Yeah.
Yep. So for the standard for hybrid systems came out, they were lumped together with Watermist. So some of the hybrid systems, people said Watermist, and they assumed that that's what it was, when really it's not. It's a hybrid. It's inert gas and water. They absolutely have their place in their applications. So it does help because it does promote the use of Watermist. So it's definitely a benefit. But again, I'm glad that it's separated into two different standards now, and people realize it's two different systems, but they're still similar enough where they're going to help each other in the growth of the system being used.
Maybe this is a tricky question, but I guess you prefer Watermist instead of hybrid?
Only because I've never had to sell a hybrid system. So it's always been, personally, when I'm trying to, the product that I'm trying to sell and pass has always been strictly Watermist. But I have worked for companies where sometimes I have to battle within my company, showing that the Watermist system is better than the gas system, and then my fellow sales guys trying to sell the gas system is better than the Watermist system. Yeah. So I've actually lost sales within the company to other systems that were available because, again, people don't know all that there is about Watermist yet. So our customers may be trying to sell Watermist, and then they get asked a question they can't find the answer to, so they go right back. Well, no, let's go back to a gas system. Yeah. So a lot of the times early, I was losing sales of systems to my own systems that the company I work for sold as well.
Yeah. I have I don't know. Maybe I know that hybrid systems use nitrogen.
Yep.
But sometimes all the things that the hybrid system can do,
yep.
The Watermist system also can do the same.
Yep.
So I guess a hybrid system goes smart, and the price is
yep.
bigger.
It does. I've been a part of evaluations, and it's really based on the size. So let's say we're protecting a very large turbine. So to protect a very large turbine, you're going to need a lot of nitrogen to protect that. So there really is like a threshold to say once you start hitting this size enclosure, that hybrid system is going to get really expensive.
Yeah.
So there is kind of a point. Now, if we're talking smaller enclosure, the hybrid system is probably very well suited for that type of application. But like I said earlier, I think there's a time in a application for every system that you properly choose. And there are some great instances of hybrid systems being used, but comparing it on some projects, the Watermist system is better to use. But they both provide exceptional cooling. That's one of the main things, properties behind both those systems, if you compare them to each other. So they both have their place. They definitely do.
Yeah. Do you think the sprinkler system are getting old every day?
Yeah, well, I look at sprinklers and I can't believe some of the large sprinklers that are coming out. And sprinklers, are really the best solution for storage applications. You're talking about high pile storage. That's what they're made for. And now these new ones that are like ESFR 28s and are inch and a quarter in size and everything. Yeah. So they keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what, I would think that Watermist will never get into that avenue of really high piled, plastic storage and all that kind of stuff. So like I said, there's a proper application for every solution that's out there, and sprinklers do a phenomenal job on that avenue. So
yeah. Here in Mexico, especially here in Monterrey, we had a brand that is called Fire.
Okay.
And it sells, this is a fire extinguisher, and they put like, it's not ULFM approach.
Sure.
I guess this is like the forestal fire. And they sell it like you can put out whatever fire that maybe if it is class B, class A, class C, you can use it for everything. But I know that is not.
Nope, not yet. In my opinion, like I said, there's a right system for every application out there, and it makes you a good salesperson within the industry to be able to find that right solution for your customer. Whether it's working with your manufacturers, working through industry codes and stuff like that to help. That's really your job, is to find fire solutions. So it's finding that right system that fits that right application. And not one system can say that for every fire and application that's out there.
All right. Just for finishing, Derek, what are the next steps that you are going to take? Maybe working, I guess you will stay working with Watermist system.
Yes.
What are you looking for?
Yeah, Watermist really has become my passion. So I like the fact that I'm specialized and an expert in a certain product. I'm still learning, and I still want to learn all the other systems available, because like I said, I like to be able to provide a solution and not just know one product to sell to somebody. So I'm looking forward to continuing the education in my career through NICET certifications, both for water-based systems and special hazard type systems, as well as getting some training from NFPA. They offer some nice courses out there just to learn the industry as a whole. So I'm really going to try to keep up to date with everything that's out there, how to better myself so that I can better myself for my customer, and just being able to have some knowledge. I'm not saying expert in everything, but I want some knowledge and so that I know what system is available, but then I can reach out to those experts and have them help me. So it's forming good partnerships with your manufacturers, with companies like Coltech as a distributor, that you can once you know good people in the industry, you make friends and you talk to them. Hey, I have this unique situation. Help me out. Have you seen that? Have you done that? What have you done? So it's just furthering my network, furthering my education, staying on top of my training. But passion is definitely Watermist. So I hope to continue that and trying to educate people both AHJs, both people trying to sell it, and helping out any way that I can to make this a more widely used system.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
I guess this is the end, but you know that you have here a house. If
Yes,
you
thank you.
need to talk every time, whenever you want,
Yes.
this is your place.
Great, thank
So thank you for your time. Thank you,
you.
Alan, Cristobal on the mix. So have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Paco.